Thank you, AJ. Thank you again. And also thank you for all the kind words. Great introduction in the sense of, yes, businesses are, what I want to stress on today is the fact that businesses are not just, we need to change the thinking about how people even, perceive businesses to begin with. Businesses are considered a vehicle to just make money or to become successful financially, either leave a legacy for your family, or somehow just be able to sustain your lifestyle. At the end of the day, business is way more than that. It's not just, it's a way to be busyness, but at the same time, it's also, I think, the biggest and the most important way of making an impact in other people's lives. Whether you are a business that makes a product, whether you're a business that offers a service, whether you're a business that does both or either or, it's very important to know what it is that you're doing for somebody else. It's not just about you. If you do not have clients or customers, I'm not entirely sure how your business would operate. So business is about other people. It's not really about yourself. But with that being said, I do want to bring the focus back on, where does a business start? It starts with your purpose. Every individual, I believe, on this planet, or every human being, or every community or little groups of people that come together, it always has to do with some sort of purpose. It also has to do with some sort of values that connect people. So if you're a business that is not necessarily thinking about those things, and it's simply that you just want to get into a business and start something up just because you need to pay the bills and have a comfortable lifestyle, I don't think it's going to be a very successful business, because, like I said, everything starts with purpose, everything starts with certain values. And if those are not in the right place, success definitely changes its meaning. Now, as you can see on the slide, as I keep reiterating, it's true that if you want to change the world, one of the best ways is really to start a business. We'll get into more. I will argue a case for you today as to why profit-making business can also become a very important vehicle for impact. We will get into that, but I just want people to understand that it's a myth that we're going to bust today for you. The fact that it's not entirely true that a business cannot be making influence and impact at the same time making financial profits for the owners or for the founders, or just for everybody's benefit in general. Moving on to the crux, or to kind of like the more substance of what I want to talk about today, is you will hear a lot of these words again and again in my conversation with you today, which is purpose, profit, value, and impact. I just want to bring up another quote by Jack Ma, who was the founder of Alibaba and also now, doing really well in terms of where he started. He said somewhere, it's a quote by him, that if you want to remain small, solve small problems. If you want to be big, then solve big problems. That is very true. Now, if you are solving a problem for somebody, you're adding value to somebody's life, you are going to be extremely successful. And that means successful personally, spiritually, emotionally, and you will be very successful financially as well. So keeping all of those different pieces of yourself, of your service, of your product, keeping all of those different aspects in mind, we come to what we call a conscious business, which has to do with spiritual, growth, as well as personal growth, and as well as financial growth. And there is a piece of it where growth comes with profits, and that's fine, because at the end of the day, you are also leading, society's growth at the same time. So whatever you put out in the world, or in your community out there in your network, it's going to affect other people. It's not just going to affect yourself, And with that in mind, if you have a purpose or if you have certain values you want to, personally grow with, it's going to grow faster and quicker and more beneficially for everybody if you share it with others. So with that being sort of like in the background, let's talk about how purpose-driven companies, yes, they grow faster, they make more money, profits happen. Eventually, your purpose gets expressed out in the world, leading to more and more public benefit as well. This particular slide that you see on the screen right now is there for a reason why I wanted to briefly, now I'm not going to get into a lot of the details about this spectrum because this is a business management MBA class we would be having if I was to get into all of these details. But I wanted to put it up there as a graphic just to bring everybody's attention to the fact that you do not necessarily have to be a charity or a not-for-profit to make a difference in the world, which has been really the thinking up until even now. I believe it's changing now. However, there's always been this, there's a social construct whereby people are made to believe that there has to be a dichotomy between, making impact and making profit. It doesn't have to be so. There is a middle ground, and the middle ground really is a social enterprise. You are, making social impact, and you are getting financial return at the same time. Now, why is that important? Why is financial return important? Because the business itself has to sustain itself as well. If you are going to grow, you need to sustain your team. You need to sustain your supply chains. You need to sustain your whatever business model you're using. So in order to do that, in order to also grow the business further and have a bigger impact for even more people, have a global impact, you will need some sort of sustainability model put in there. And what I'm talking about is financial sustainability, to be clear. So social enterprises to bring your attention to social enterprises that is the model that a conscious business or a impact-driven business can look into, because it gives them the best of both worlds. You're not a traditional business because you're not completely focused on just making money and hell with everything else. But or you're not totally focused on just being we just need to make some impact and we're not going to focus on making a profit. It doesn't have to be so. So the middle ground really would be social enterprise. And like I said, this is not an MBA class. I'm not going into the details of how social enterprises are set up, how they can be efficiently developed. That is a conversation we can have separately, also based on my expertise in business structures and models. We can leave that for another time. However, there are different ways businesses can structure themselves under those umbrellas and still be able to do both, which is impact and profit. There does not need to be a dependence, for example, for charities and not-for-profits. They're highly dependent on donors. They're highly dependent on philanthropy. They're highly dependent on funds coming in for them, which is fine. But at the same time, a social enterprise, the best part is that it runs itself. Now, with that being said, it's like, yes, you can get the support if you need to, but you're not completely dependent on it if you don't have to be. So that gives the business owner or the social enterprise owner also a lot of different opportunities to work with. They could have, they could believe in the business themselves, and they could grow it in that regard. And once it grows, it just, sustains itself and also helps the public at the same time. Moving on to why conscious businesses are a win-win for everyone, because of course they give you a good return on investment. That is one piece, yes. There's a lot of stakeholder engagement you can generate. There's a lot of shareholder engagement you can generate. You can even bring in a lot of different people who just want to be connected with some sort of movements or some sort of, I should say, causes, but at the same time, they can be investors in your business because they support what you're trying to do, and they don't necessarily have to be a part of the business as an employee, for example. So there is a lot of ways you can structure that, and you still get a lot of return on your investment, or the investor still gets a lot of return on their investment. Second piece being growth. Your business itself will grow if you are a conscious, sustainable business, because then you're attracting those kind of employees, you're attracting those kind of like new talent that is creative and thinking in the same direction. That kind of synergy will lead to amazing things, because if you have a team that's on the same page, great things will happen, obviously. You can also then, create a brand loyalty or a following. You will have customers and clients who will not go anywhere because they believe in what you do, and they will stick with you. Even when you grow and some of your services and products become a little bit more expensive, they will definitely still be interested in investing with you rather than going somewhere else. Now, the third piece here really is impact, which we've been talking about already, but very briefly, yes, there is a lot of advantages in being conscious business that focuses on your growth, your personal growth, your spiritual growth, as well as your financial growth. And that's the way to make impact in the world today. If you are somebody who has something to add to others' lives, the best way is to start talking about it, to start sharing that, and it's okay to be able to, put a value in terms of the value you're providing, to put a financial value to it as well. And trust me, there's a lot of businesses out there who are already using these models, who are already on that track and are making a lot of good returns. We will get into a few examples very soon to show you that there are businesses out there who've been using these things for some time, and it's working, and it works. With that being said, I just want to quickly say, before we get into the specific examples of businesses that are on that track or are growing because of their values and their core values being impact as well as profit, is that there's no social enterprises, for example, or which are also considered conscious businesses. Their goal is not really just to have a social environmental goal in their sort of marketing plan, or to make it a ploy to sell something. That's not what it is. It's not an add-on. That's really in their DNA to begin with. Their social cause and impact, or that influence that they want to have, or the impact that they want to make, and their purpose and values are very much within the DNA. And DNA is really what, kind of multiplies, and then that's what grows. So with bringing everybody's attention back to the fact that it always starts with where you start with. So it starts with your values, it starts with your thinking, it starts with your purpose. And that is what literally comes out in what you're trying to do, or what you're trying to provide value in terms of. Now, there's a lot of different ways companies are looking into different sustainability models. They're trying to change their supply chains. They're trying to, follow different things to do. There's a lot of movement, and then a lot of impact already being made. However, I want to get into some examples on the next slide, which will be to show you that it could be a very small scale, it could be medium scale, it could be global. HA, can we please move to the next slide? Thank you. So here are some examples for you. You might obviously identify with some of these brands. Some of them are very popular, and we'll get into why they have become what they have become now. So with that being said, some of these brands are actually movements more than businesses, to be honest, and that's how I look at them. Now, Tom's, why I want to start with that is the perfect example of something that started out as a purpose-driven social mission to be able to provide shoes, like a pair of shoes, or just provide something for people, or the founder was in a different country at that time and was going through, I think it was a hike or a trek that he tried to do, like he was doing at that time in his life, and came across people there who did not even have proper shoes to wear while he was, hiking and trekking in this wonderful pair of shoes. So then he decided, and that's what he wanted to do. His mission was really to just provide a pair of shoes to all these people in that area. And what he did was ended up setting up a business. The entrepreneurial mindset in him came up with this brilliant idea where you can, sell a pair of shoes to somebody else, but at the same time, the person buying a pair of shoes is also then buying a pair for somebody else in somewhere in the world. So to be creative and to be very mission-based and driven is something that needs to happen first, because once you have the mission, once you have the vision, everything else just falls in place. It just works itself out. The best model will just show up and you will end up with the best practices as well. Moving on to another example, which is why I want to mention this example here today, is the fact that Bridge International is providing education supplies and classes and schools. They've also built around 130 plus schools all over Kenya to provide quality education. Now, when you hear that, you would think it's a not-for-profit, it's one of those charities that is being funded by somebody. Actually, that's not true. They call themselves a for-profit business. They call themselves a company because they believe in what they do. Yes, it is making a social impact. Yes, it is supposed to be that charitable kind of mindset, but it's not, because they believe that if they can sustain themselves is only how they will be able to add value to their services or to their business itself. So Rethreaded is why I put that on there is because Rethreaded is just a very local, it started as a local group of women in Jacksonville in the United States. And they wanted to address sex trafficking and human trafficking. And it was started by women who had either gone through, they were survivors of human trafficking or somehow involved in anything like that. They came up with this little group of women who started doing, making locally sourced, I should say, goods, little products, and it's threaded, obviously, it's in the word. It's in the name itself. They started employing a lot of women who came from that kind of a background or stood for that value. And now they have become, and they've grown so much that from a local small little group of women, it's become a global name in the sense that they're now funding even more projects all over the world that address a similar sort of issue, which is, again, for women and human and sex trafficking and sex trade. They have already helped over 4,000 women in the world at this point. So again, it could either be employing certain people with, that kind of a mission, or just helping other causes at the same time you are making a return on what you are trying to do. Lego, why I put that in there is because Lego is very much, everybody or most people know that they use a lot of plastic in their toys, obviously. So I just wanted to put that in there because I read something very cool about them. And I thought people should maybe bring their attention to that Lego actually, even though they use a lot of plastic, now they're becoming way more conscious that way. Socially conscious and environmentally conscious. So they have partnered with the World Wildlife Fund, for example. So this is to show that even if your own product for some reason, for now at least, I think they're looking into more recycled materials anyway. But at the same time, they've been like really big, like every single product has a lot of plastic in it. So it's just, if they couldn't do that at that time, they did a little campaign in 2018, and they released a line of little toys that were made out of sugarcane, for example. So they've been testing these things out. They've been trying different things, but they have already invested $15 million to reduce their carbon footprint. So they are definitely looking into other areas, but they have already partnered with other funds to make an impact in one way or the other. So just to give you ideas that maybe even if your own business is not directly stands for a mission, you can still be able to collaborate with another fund or another mission and still be able to live with certain values of being conscious about other people. Ben and Jerry's is an ice cream brand. Why I put that in there is because they are in the ice cream making industry. Yes, they're looking into very fair trade sourced ingredients for their product. However, what I found interesting about them is they have started an initiative for social equality, which really has nothing to really do with ice cream, right? Yes, ice cream connects everybody. Everybody understands, the joys of ice cream, but they have started an initiative called Justice Remixed. It completely focuses on the criminal justice system for people of all color, people of from everywhere. So just to say that you could be in a completely different industry or environment as a business, but at the same time, you could stand for something completely different from your product or service and still make an impact. You could still be part of a bigger movement at the same time. So it's just about opening your minds and opening your thinking to thinking of business as being able to make an impact in some way or the other, and not just thinking that I'm going to start something, get some clients, get paid, and everybody's okay. The last one is Aspiration Bank. That's also on there. Why I put that on there is because you think of bank and you think, oh, it's a bank. They don't have the best interest for at heart for people. They're just out there to make some money. However, Aspiration Bank is something that helps you to even do better and do more good in the world because they actually offer socially conscious, sustainable cash management services and also some investment products where you can make money, but at the same time you are, sort of contributing to socially conscious and sustainable funds or different kinds of initiatives and projects all over the world. And now they also have a feature where you have an account, something called the impact measurement account. So it literally tells you how much you're spending in terms of, or how much you've contributed already in terms of making an impact in the world, which is pretty cool at the same time that you're spending your money on things that you would spend on, but at the same time, you're doing so much good out there in your day-to-day life. With that being said, those are the different things I wanted to talk about as to how different brands or different companies are, either leading impact or they're already in that area, or they're starting to think differently about making an impact. I believe that will be most